this right here, you bunch of prima donna ballerina mother.
Welcome everyone, I'm Jordan Sharp. As we get closer and closer to the start of NFL training camp, we are actually less than a month away from the first NFL preseason game, the Hall of Fame game on August 3rd. So it's time to start taking a look at some of the trends that you could take advantage of this NFL preseason. Now I know some of you say that it's the preseason, why even bother? It's very unpredictable, and some of you may be right in other sports. However, in the NFL, it actually is a very good trend to keep following what the NFL coaches have done in the past for these certain teams. And in preseason football, following a coach could be a good formula to follow along with other analysis in order to get good profits from betting the NFL preseason. Now, the preseason could be tough. There are 7 new head coaches. However, 3 of them have actually been head coaches before, so we do have a little bit of information on it. Now, for the 4 of the new head coaches, obviously in Houston, in Minnesota, in Cleveland, and in Washington, D.C., it's going to be really hard to bet preseason on those 4 teams, but normally new head coaches come in. They want to make a big impact, but last year didn't really mean that much. There were as many new coaches as there were this year as there were last year, and they all went 14-14 straight up. Bruce Arians, Rod Chudzinski were the only head coaches that had winning preseason records, and of course Chudzinski has since been fired after his first season. However, with some of the new head coaches, there could be some very nice trends evolving, and we'll start off with Jim Caldwell, who has a very horrible preseason record. In fact, in his preseason tenure with the Indianapolis Colts, he finished 2-10 straight up, and not very taking the preseason not very seriously in Indianapolis. And even though he's now in Detroit, can't really see him taking the preseason very seriously as well either in this one. So Caldwell might be a very good fade heading into next season. Another guy that could potentially be a pretty good fade is Ken Whisenhunt, who in his tenure in Arizona, he had spent 6 seasons there, went 8-17 straight up in the preseason, while Lovie Smith, another guy who has been a head coach before in the NFL. Of course, all 3 of these guys new head coaches with their new teams, but all 3 have also coached in the Super Bowl as well. But Lovie Smith right over 500 at 19-18 straight up, but he could be one of the guys that actually does well in the middle of the preseason instead of at the beginning and the end, which I'll get to here in just a second. Speaking of week-to-week NFL preseason betting, it is very telling of some of these coaches' records during each week. For instance, John Fox, 8-4 straight up in week 1. Bill Belichick as well is the guy that you really have to follow week 1 of the preseason, and should be a very good bet. 11-4 straight up in his career in week 1 of the preseason with Tom Brady probably not playing much of that game either, so you know that they're going to go out and try to win that game. Another stat you got to keep in mind of is the middle of the preseason, weeks 2 and 3, where coaches really start to go for it if indeed they're not very keen on winning in weeks 1 and 4. For instance, Mike McCarthy in Green Bay, only 2-6 straight up in week 1 of the preseason. He's combined 4-12 straight up in his career in weeks 1 and 4. However, in weeks 2 and 3, 11-5 straight up. So follow some of those guys, follow some of those trends as well. You might be very profitable here for this NFL preseason, because it's normally almost all dependent on how much the coaches are going to play their starters and if indeed coaches value preseason wins at all. But that'll do it for me this time. Make sure you check out some of my other NFL offseason articles. But until then, I'm Jordan Sharp, and this has been another edition of the Sharp Pick.